Hello, I'm Cole Spivey. Um, Opening statement about the practice of your faith tradition. Basically, I do not practice my faith tradition. I'm welcome into the kingdom simply just because I believe. So there's not any particular practice that I go through in trying to perform some kind of quality for my faith. My Messiah doesn't he doesn't need me to perform or anything like that. I do choose to perform. I do choose to be an actor mostly for fun and as a community decision because it's a way of connecting with the community. But when it comes to faith tradition or practice, I have no practice of faith. So I don't practice the old ways of the Old Testament. I practice with what's in the new covenant. So it's a new practice. So there's no particular type of practicing that I do in the faith of Christianity. I'm simply just a believer, and I exist, and God loves me, and I guess He kind of spoils me in a way because He loves His children. I was raised in the Baptist community. My mom was actually raised Jehovah's Witness, so there's always been this weird thing about Christmas. My father, of course, being raised Baptist, Christmas is very important to him. So buying Christmas gifts and things like that are part of that kind of thing. And so you can kind of connect that to all the other things as a childhood in faith. My mom no longer practice is the wrong word. My mom no longer celebrates Christmas. Okay, so my mom being raised Jehovah's Witness, which she no longer is Jehovah's Witness. She's part of the Sabbath Keepers, which is not a very well-known group of believers. But they are believers, but they believe in the old ways. So they actually celebrate Passover and things like that, just like any Jewish or traditional Jewish believer. So Judaism and things like that are practiced, but yet the Messiah is real and Jesus Christ is the Son of God in Sabbath keepers. So they do believe Jesus Christ is the Son of God, but they practice Passover and other holidays. I particularly, being raised on my father's side Baptist, we did practice things, not practice, I hate to use the word practice, we did celebrate things like Christmas, and we would go to church every once in a while. But me being raised, I was raised in a household where we didn't really even pray at the table. We just simply ate our food and moved on to the next part of the day. Now we did pray during Thanksgiving, and we would pray during Christmas time, and we would pray. So my family would pray just during mostly Christmas or Thanksgiving on my dad's side, because my mom and dad were divorced at 9 years old. So there was no real major practicing of a faith tradition. There was simply, in my life, what I learned was there's just simply knowing that you're saved by the Son of God, knowing that you're accepted into the kingdom, and that you just live life, There was no real pursuit for evangelical knocking on doors and having other people come to Jesus Christ. That was all left for the Messiah to do. It wasn't our job to do that for him. So we were more kind of, I would say, raised in a non-evangelical environment. I wasn't told, my father didn't tell me go to school and save people, save souls. It wasn't that kind of thing. Jesus was mentioned every once in a while, but it was not all the time, and we didn't pray every day. That's basically the childhood part of the faith. And then how do I practice your faith today? In the context of contemporary society, I do not practice my faith. So I am simply saved by the Son of God. So I do not fear death. I don't fear any other type of any troubles or anything like that, because I know, I know that I'm a born again Christian, and I know Jesus is in my heart, and I know there's no pastor out there that's going to remove him. I know that there's no church out there that's going to remove him. And it says that in the Bible. It actually says that there's I believe it says no sword, no stone, no fire can remove the Son of God or Jesus Christ from within you, basically from within your heart. One thing that we did practice that I'm pretty proud of is that we did ask Jesus Christ to come into our heart. So we did use those terms. We asked Jesus Christ to come into our heart, and that we were saved just like that. there was no attempt to show the fruit of what we do. We are sinners. I am a sinner. It didn't keep me from being a sinner. So I'm still a sinner today. But I know that Jesus is always there as my backup. So I always have Jesus there as my backup. So if anyone tries to infiltrate my life or tries to make me sad or tries to take things away from me, ultimately I know that Jesus Christ is there and nothing can be taken away from me, especially Jesus Christ. So that I was taught at a young age. I was taught, and so there's not really much practicing of my faith. And then there's the context of contemporary society. I think contemporary society is very corrupt. I was just watching a movie called Failure to Launch, and I was seeing the dangers of how women are put into, this sense of commercialism, and that a man is property, which is not true. A man is not a loaf of bread. It talks about that in Proverbs, and it talks about it other parts of the Bible, that a man is not a loaf of bread. A man is a real thing, and is a child of God, just as I am. And the Messiah is not going to like those women that are out there that are going to treat a man like a loaf of bread. And he even talks about in Revelations, there will be certain women that will drink the blood of saints. And I do believe this is happening in contemporary society. Very dangerous because of how the women are. Women are spoiled, especially American women, and they are hurting men to get their way. Not always financially. They want to be cruel because, first of all, they're not a son. They're not a man. So they lash out at the men because they are a woman, and they have to go through a lot of pain, physical pain. They have to go through childbirth and things like that. Men don't really. Men have it a little bit, I wouldn't say they have it easier because there's things that we have to do too. But women are out there just purposely being cruel to men. And men, it's hard for even men to use their faith. I worked at a bank for 5 years. I was never even allowed to mention the word God, even though in the bank there was printed on the money, "In God We Trust." And mostly this was coming out of women's mouths. So the women would be very offended if I mentioned the God, period. So it's very hard to be a spiritual leader, which I am, but it's very hard to be a spiritual leader in society because wives out there will get their men to go do things like, stop this man, he does not deserve his wife, and things like that. So they'll infiltrate family. They'll get in the way of family, and they'll split family apart because women are out there trying to conquer on the sake of the enemy. So the women are out there kind of like working for the enemy, and that's what contemporary society has come to. I think women have too many rights in the fact that they can kill. And what I mean by murder is if a woman murders a grown man, she could, in this state, the state that I'm in, Texas, she could get the death penalty. Okay, and women do kill. But the one thing that they are killing today that I think is, and I think it's like a Holocaust, are unborn babies. So women have these rights to go into a doctor and say, listen, I don't want to go through this kind of pain. I don't want to feel any pain. I don't want to be embarrassed, or I don't want to have to gain weight, or whatever it may be. Kill this baby. And the doctor's like, well, give me the money, and boom, I'll kill the baby. So they just go into the abortion clinics and they murder. They do it every day. It just happened just a while ago. So there is an invisible Holocaust in contemporary society. And I don't really do a lot about it, but I usually don't hang around women that, for one thing, are pro-choice. I do not hang around women that are pro-choice. I hang around women that are pro-life and that are obedient unto the Messiah. So those are the three things. And what I mean by contemporary society, I'm more looking at a men's relationship with women. Because really, to be honest, men should not have a worldly approach like contemporary society. Men should just be obedient under God. They should read the Bible. They should know the Bible. They should know the New Covenant. And they should know that they're saved by Jesus Christ and that the Lord will work through them in certain ways. But when you're saying contemporary society, you're basically saying, the socialite women that are out there. Because women are very, very, very social. Men aren't. Men aren't very social. They have a few friends. The only usual men that are very social are the ones that probably hate women in a kind of a way, because society is very evil. Contemporary society is very evil. So you'll find that women are actually very involved in society, and so being a socialite. You also find that men usually keep to themselves, and they have a few friends, and that they may go do something every once in a while or whatever. But I'm not the type that's going to say that there is some type of context of contemporary society and practicing faith and religion. Many of our great saints or whatever weren't the socialites going to parties and having a lot of fun with some lady on their side. They were instructed by God to do something important. So when I see the word contemporary society and practicing faith, really the first thing that comes to mind are these women out there and with all their friends and divorcing their husbands and going off and doing horrible things like committing adultery and things like that, which I'm highly against. So it isn't a kind of an offensive question, but I can answer it the best I can, that I do not practice a faith. I am saved by Jesus Christ, and Jesus has set me aside as his son, meaning I am one of the many sons of God, because there are many sons of God. Now, Jesus was the ultimate Son of God because he was the Messiah, and Jesus Christ is the ruler of the universe, you could say. But he has set us aside as a child, so I am his child. So if you're going to mess with me, then you're messing with God's child. So you got to be careful. But I can help with this if you'd like me to, and those are my things for Five Faith. Thank you.